Hey, everybody. We have one of our favorite guests here with us today, Scott Hamilton. How's it going?
Good, really good. It's been busy, 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 but really fun. It's my favorite time of year, promoting the Care Show at Bridgestone Arena, and this year's show is truly special. So I'm doubly excited to be able to
We are
present
so
it and
fortunate.
sell, sell, sell.
We are so fortunate to have you here, live here in our community. I don't know if people will remember, but like back in the 90s, you were like one of the very top athletes. People were talking about you all the time. We still are, but like you were up there with Michael Jordan as one of the most popular athletes in the US.
It's weird because I was always kind of the guy that came in last at nationals all those years, and it was like I was the least, and then my mom went through cancer, and I woke up one day and she was gone, and I had to figure out how to process all the sacrifices that she and my family made for me, and that all the hope and everything that she put into my skating when I was underperforming. And so it just sort of was one of those things where I'm going to grieve and mourn the loss of somebody I love more than anybody else on this planet. And how do I do it in a healthy fashion that would honor her? And that was taking her with me to the ice every day. And that changed everything. It's from that nationals that she saw me in, where I came in ninth, and I was an epic fail disaster, and I was distracted. I'm an 18-year-old boy, and it was like, it's like, how am I it's like, what am I doing? I had really no clue. And the morning I lost her, I was like, okay, it's time for me to step into the next and truly respect and honor everything that she'd done for me. I mean, I was adopted at 6 weeks of age. I mean, she loved me through everything. And that decision to honor my mom and to bring her with me to the ice, it changed everything. She always said, we're going to the Olympics. And it's like, based on what? I'm kind of Mr. Last Place guy. And then all of a sudden I'm in the 80 Olympics, and I'm carrying the flag in the opening ceremonies. And the next 4 years I went undefeated. And it's like, how does that happen? And it's just, stepping into the reality that there's more we can do.
Yeah.
And in that, I became a fundraiser to try to figure out how do we cure her cancer? How do we invest in research to cure her cancer? Because she never had a chance. They put every chemo drug they could think of into her body, and she just suffered and she succumbed. And crazy that 20 years later, I'm diagnosed with cancer, and two guys in Indiana, two research scientists, figured it out. And so I realized in that if there's another miracle out there, we just have to work towards funding it and making it happen and bringing it into reality. And the science is just way up here. I mean, the science is just unbelievable what we're doing right now, but the funding, is still way below it. So it's sort of closing that gap, I think, will allow for people to survive longer, better. We can cure more cancers just by igniting our body's own immune systems. Our bodies created the cancer. Our body should be able to detect it and destroy it. So it's all of that, the promise of that we work really hard to make all those research programs happen. And it was all based on, just my mom having an unbelievable commitment and a belief in me and a love for me. And how do I honor that? And that she's no longer with us. It's just try to save another 18-year-old boy from losing his mom too soon.
Yes. So you have your event coming up at Bridgestone Arena. It is so fun and so different and so interesting. Like, you never get to see the ice with all the glass up.
It's like Bridgestone is always predators, unless there's a concert there. But we change it. We take the glass out and we take the seats all the way down to the ice. It looks like a theater. Our stage is about 4 inches above the ice. And so there's an interactivity between the artists, the musical artists, and the band and the skaters. That's really fun. And then the marriage of music and movement in that way, where it's so spectacular and so athletic and explosive, and the speed is just incredible when you're that close. It's just a really fun way to bring people together, to create memories and a spectacular, basically, that hopefully we can continue to build on it and grow it so that we can reach more and more of our research goals every single year.
Yeah. And this year is 90s country. I know you're always really involved in the themes. So this year
Yeah.
you went with 90s country. You've got some great artists coming this year.
Yeah, it's it's Trace Atkins, Jody Messina, Dina Carter, Steve Warner, the frontmen from Restless Heart, Lone Star, Little Texas, and all their songs. And what's really wild is I grew up kind of rock. I lived in sort of Midwest, kind of Ohio, just south of Detroit, and so rock and roll was everything. And I listened to a lot of it, and I loved it. When they said we want to do 90s country this year, I was like, okay, I'll have to sharpen my pencil. And once I started listening to the songs, it was like, I know these songs. I know these songs because that was a decade that country music came into the mainstream. That was the year. That was a decade that country music became popular music. And, it was always the genre. It was always country music is its own genre, its own audience, its own everything. But that decade, when you look at the artists like, Garth Brooks and Shania Twain and Brooks and Dunn and, these amazing, incredible artists, that were just thriving in the 90s and presenting music that was just bright mainstream. That was a decade. And I was like, wow, we get to celebrate that with the artists that really participated in that explosion, and our skaters. Nathan Chen's coming this year for the first time. And I mean, as a skater, I always say Dick Button's the greatest skater of all time, but I'd have to put Nathan Chen right there with him because of what he does and how he does it, and just how gifted and talented he is. But we have so many other amazing skaters coming to join us this year from, I think, 3 different countries. And it's really cool to introduce young skaters. Like a girl I invited last night, we had an injury. We lost one of our skaters, so I had to replace her. And we're bringing in the French national champion, which is fun. She trains in Florida. So it just works out great that we're able to, make sure that the show is populated. Then we've got all our local skaters here in Nashville that raise money to earn a spot in the show. And they raise a mountain of money for cancer research. And honestly, it's their world. And when they inherit it as, being owners and operators of this world, just the fact that they've invested so much into it being better, for them to be able to, live more, knowing that the hope of better treatment options and better, less toxic treatment options exist, and they were a part of creating them. It's really a beautiful thing to think about.
Yeah. And you get out there with the local skaters. You kind of come out for a minute. You're not doing any backflips, but you come out.
No, yeah. I'm on Medicare. I don't think they cover any of those injuries anymore. So I got to be really careful. If I were to fall and break a hip, it's not going to heal at my age. So I got to be really careful. I'm just kidding. No, it's just, with everything else that, I always thought that if I were able to tour like 2 to 4 years, that I'd be really fooling a lot of people. And it worked out that I toured for 20 years.
Wow.
And so, it's remarkable that, basically I milked the cow dry. There wasn't anything left in the cow. I was just like, I have no more really fun ideas. I started this family. I've got now a son. I want to see his first steps and hear his first words. So I just kind of stepped off and became a dad. And so it was really fun to think about, all those years and just the impact I was able to have in skating and with skating and on skating and from being the last place guy, which is really crazy. And none of it makes sense, right? The fact that I was, in hospitals for 4 years in and out, with childhood illness, and I was adopted and my parents were both educators and there was really no pedigree for skating in my community in a small town in Ohio. And none of it really leads to, oh, and by the way, you're going to win an Olympic gold medal. It's like, no, because it doesn't compute. And it all happened. And it's kind of like, wow, you know, wow. And now we step into this, you know, why not create a foundation that will ultimately cure cancer? I mean, everything else has been unlikely. Why not me? Why
Yeah.
not? Because how many times have we heard it said, somebody has to do something about this?
Yeah. True.
Yeah. And I'm kind of the sort of a victim and a beneficiary of a lack of research, and also the right research that was able to extend my life. I wouldn't be a husband or a father had those two guys not figured it out. So in gratitude, and still with a great deal of sadness, and I miss my mom every day. I mean, she would have been in her 90s, and she kind of deserved to live into her 90s. But the fact that she died at 49
Mm.
didn't seem fair,
So yeah.
So it's like, how do we put more grains of sand in the hourglass, because
Yeah.
last I checked, nobody gets out of this alive, but we deserve, and we really, with everything we know about medicine and everything we know about the human body, we deserve to have the full experience. So how do we allow that and make that happen? And we do it by coming together and linking arms and pushing back.
Yeah. Well, this is a great event and a great way to experience all these things.
Yeah, it is.
And your foundation is based in Franklin, right?
Yeah, our office is at the Proton Therapy Center there, which is extraordinary that there's 43 proton centers in the United States, and one of them is in Franklin, Tennessee. That's a
Mhm.
longer story. That's because of three orphan children from Haiti. Kind of remarkable there, and it's treating cancer patients in a very precise, very specific way that treats the cancer and spares the patient harm. So that's our whole deal, and if you ever see any of our logos or anything, our cancer ribbon is upside down because we want to change cancer. We want to turn it upside down, and we want to change it from being fear and suffering to being, confident and hopeful, and knowing that we're just going to return to our lives once we deal with this problem. And with all the toxicity of our world and all the other things going on, it's physically, emotionally, environmentally, everything else, it's really easy for us to disrupt our ecosystems, so our personal body ecosystems. And so it's how do we win in having a full life? And that's really giving our bodies everything it needs and not giving it what it doesn't want in order to live fully. And all of that comes out of research as well. One of our research programs show that there's no genetic identity in glioblastoma multiforme brain cancer. And talk about sleeping better at night. If you lost a parent or a loved one to glio, and knowing that there's no genetic link is kind of like a wow.
Mm.
Yeah, it's big. And that's kind of what research can do on different levels, not just solving the problem, but coming up with an identifier that says you're not at risk. That however this happens, we have to figure that out. But in the meantime, it's not a genetic thing. And now let's go after the problem of isolating and treating this particular form of cancer that right now has no cure. So, I was always the littlest one in my class. Punching a bully in the nose is kind of like a personal fantasy of mine, and it's kind of like cancer is a big, bad, nasty bully. How do we punch it in the nose? And that's by coming together and supporting research. And the best way to do that is to a dedicated foundation that's our whole identity is that.
Yeah, pretty amazing. And I know we're all so grateful that you've done this and we can come together and see this event. I mean, this is so much fun. If anyone is listening, they haven't been, it is amazing to watch the coming together of the music, the skating, and like I said, you get to sit so close to the ice. It's just unbelievable.
Well, and the artists, I mean, we have to rehearse them, because if they just go out cold in the show, they get overwhelmed by what they're seeing in front of them. They get distracted.
I can see that.
Yeah. And, the last thing I want to say is, and I think it's important because I ask a lot, of people, artists and skaters, and I've never accepted a penny for any of the work I do with CARES. And I want people to understand that I'm a volunteer and that I am pure of heart in all of this. This isn't to enrich me in any way, shape, or form. It's a way of giving back in gratitude that due to research, I'm alive and I get to have a full experience in this life, and others haven't, and it's not fair. And I really want to use whatever I've been given in order to impact this that touches so many people in such difficult ways. And it's time to stand up and rise up and again work together to solve a problem that touches every family in the world. Once we solve a problem, it's solved. Next. Solve that problem. Next. And if we can keep doing that, just check. It would be amazing to see the millions and millions and millions of lives that are saved, and just how they get to have the full experience of life. It's extraordinary. It's a wonderful vision, and it's a dream of mine just to be able to participate in keeping families together and allowing a full life and not cut short by cancer.
Well, tickets are still available.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yes.
But we're going to solve that. We're going to help solve that.
Yay.
Get some tickets. It's Sunday, November 19th at Bridgestone Arena. Hey,
and I'll say too that if you're a business, a local business, and you have philanthropic dollars or volunteer hours or whatever, we use all of that, and if you want to come in and sponsor the show, there's still room at the dinner after the show, and all sponsors get sort of preferred seating, like maybe right on the ice, and that really makes it even more spectacular. So come join us. And every person in a community loves a business that's a good citizen and he really cares for their community in sacrificial ways. So if you're a local business, please come sponsor, buy a table, buy 2 tables, and bring your people to the show and allow them to bring their families. It's a very family-friendly event, and it's really it's nothing else like you've ever experienced. So come on out.
That's so true. And to be honest, all of us have been touched by cancer in some way. Family member, someone I don't know anyone who hasn't.
Yeah. We do a show of hands, who's been either gone through cancer or seen a loved one or a relative go through it. And 100% of the hands go up, and it's like, oh. And just to celebrate survivorship and the promise for a better tomorrow. That's what we're in this for. And we're a small collaborative organization. And I really think that we're making a huge impact and getting it out there in front of a lot of people. And we work with like-minded organizations that really want to make a difference in the world. And it's been really fun to build those relationships and to see them thrive. And everybody wins. Everybody wins. Yeah.
Well, it's the weekend before Thanksgiving. So if you have family coming in, it's like you say, a great family event.
Oh, perfect.
Unbelievable.
5 p.m. Bridgestone Arena, November 19th, 5 p.m. Be there. And honestly, you won't experience anything like this anywhere else. So
I agree.
It's
so much fun.
Really cool. Yeah. So I'll
see
you.
Yes, we'll put the link for the tickets so you guys can get those while they're still available, because who knows, they may be gone by tomorrow.
Well, that would be wonderful. And then we'd open up more sections, and that
there
would
you go.
be more wonderful. And then we'll open up more sections. And then, yeah.
Hey, it's great to catch up with you.
Yeah,
we'll see you.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.